Do you think old age is a gentle journey without surprises? Think again, because the moment you reach 75, your body goes through five terrifying changes that few people would believe. They do not arrive with pain. They do not come with warning signs. They appear like ghosts, quiet, invisible, yet impossible to deny. Over the past decade, scientists have discovered truths so worrying that aging researchers around the world have had to admit this. Everyone, regardless of lifestyle or health status, goes through the exact same five biological changes once they pass the age of 75. You may have lived like an athlete, eaten a healthy diet, meditated, stayed away from sugar and stress, taken all kinds of supplements, or felt younger than your actual age. But none of that can stop what is about to happen. These five changes activate like hidden switches buried deep inside your body decades earlier. Switches you never knew existed until the consequences start to show. The frightening part is that your body does not warn you when these switches turn on. They unfold silently, quietly rewriting the map of your health until one day you suddenly feel that something is different and realize this process began many years before. Doctors rarely mention this because most older adults come in when the process has already been underway for a long time. Families struggle to spot the early signs because they are almost impossible to see. And older people themselves often assume everything is just normal aging. In reality, these five changes follow a predictable biological sequence that has been discovered through thousands of scans and medical records from adults in the United States, Europe, and Asia. In particular, the second change, according to a neurology study, begins damaging the brain 3 to 4 years before seniors feel even the slightest symptom. This makes it the most silent and the most dangerous change. In this video, we will reveal all five of these changes. And remember the first one carefully, because it controls how fast your entire body ages. Now, let us begin with change number 5, because what really happens at 75 is something most people never discover until it is too late. But you are about to learn it right now. Number 5. Your sleep structure changes completely. When you reach 75, your brain rewrites the rules of sleep. This is not just about needing less sleep or waking up earlier. It is a complete overhaul of the architecture of your sleep cycles, and it affects everyone at this age. Research from the Sleep Research Society shows that after 75, your brain reduces deep sleep production by up to 70%. This means that the crucial restorative stage, where your body repairs tissues, strengthens immunity, and consolidates memories, almost becomes a luxury instead of a nightly guarantee. Your brain starts producing less natural melatonin, dropping by about 15% every year after 75. This explains why you may find yourself wide awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, even when you are exhausted. Interestingly, your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that signals when to sleep and when to wake, actually shifts forward by about 2 to 3 hours. This is why eating dinner at 4 in the afternoon suddenly makes sense, and why you are ready for bed when everyone else is just beginning their evening movie time. Scientists call this advanced sleep phase syndrome. It happens because the suprachiasmatic nucleus in your brain, the master clock of your body, begins to operate on a different schedule due to changes in light sensitivity and hormone production. Even more surprising is that your sleep becomes extremely fragmented, with the average 75-year-old waking up between 15 and 20 times per night, although you may only remember a few of these awakenings. To work with these changes instead of fighting against them, sleep experts recommend accepting the new schedule rather than resisting it. That means going to bed when you feel tired, even if it is 7 in the evening, and using those early morning hours productively instead of lying in bed feeling frustrated. Creating an ideal sleep environment becomes extremely important at this age, with the room temperature best kept between 16 and 19 degrees Celsius, because your body's ability to regulate temperature also changes after 75, making you more sensitive to heat during sleep. The timing of light exposure becomes your secret weapon. Getting bright light, preferably sunlight, within 30 minutes of waking helps lock in your new circadian rhythm. At the same time, avoiding all screens and bright lights after 6 in the evening helps trigger the small amount of melatonin you still produce. Many people succeed with a split sleep pattern, which was common before the Industrial Revolution. In this pattern, you sleep about 4 hours, wake for an hour or two to do gentle activities like reading or stretching, then sleep another 3 to 4 hours. The important thing is to accept that 8 straight hours of sleep is no longer your reality and to work with your new sleep structure instead of constantly fighting it. Because the stress of trying to force your old sleep patterns actually makes sleep fragmentation worse and can lead to chronic insomnia, which affects up to 60% of people over 75. Your sleep may be different, but different does not mean worse if you adjust your expectations and habits to match your body's new blueprint. But while you are adapting to these sleep changes, something even more dramatic is happening to your body's thermostat. Number 4. Your internal thermostat is permanently damaged. At 75, your body's ability to regulate temperature does not just decline. It essentially breaks, leaving you vulnerable to both heat and cold in ways that would have been unimaginable just a few years earlier. The hypothalamus in your brain, the center that regulates temperature, loses about 20% of its thermosensitive neurons by age 75. This means your body can no longer detect temperature changes as accurately as before. This is why you may feel freezing while everyone else is comfortable, or why a slightly warm day can leave you feeling completely drained and dizzy. Your sweat glands, the body's main cooling system, decrease in number and efficiency by up to 40%. This makes it extremely difficult to cool down once you get hot. It is also why heat stroke hospitalizations increase by 300% after age 75, according to CDC data. At the same time, your blood vessels lose their ability to constrict and dilate properly in response to temperature changes, a process called vasomotor adaptation. This means your body can no longer shift blood flow to warm your extremities or cool your core the way it used to. The layer of subcutaneous fat under your skin, which acts as natural insulation, thins by about 30% after 75, leaving you less protected against cold temperatures and explaining why winter chills seem to sink deep into your bones. Your metabolic rate, essentially the speed at which your body burns energy to generate heat, drops by about 20% after 75. This means you produce less internal heat even when you need it most. The scariest part is that your body stops sending clear warning signals about extreme temperatures. Studies show that people over 75 often do not feel thirsty even when they are dehydrated, and they do not shiver effectively when cold, removing two critical survival mechanisms. To manage this decline, experts recommend keeping your living space between 20 and 24 degrees Celsius all year round. This may feel warm in winter and cool in summer, but it represents the narrow comfort zone your body can handle. Dressing in layers becomes essential because you need to adjust quickly as your perception of temperature can shift multiple times throughout the day due to blood pressure changes, medication side effects, and activity levels. Staying hydrated becomes more important than ever because your body uses water to regulate temperature. But since you do not feel thirsty, setting hourly reminders to drink water is crucial, aiming for at least 1.5 liters a day, regardless of how thirsty you feel. Installing thermometers in several rooms helps you rely on objective temperature rather than your own unreliable internal sensors. Many people also find programmable thermostats helpful, as they automatically adjust throughout the day to match your body's changing needs. Exercise, paradoxically, becomes both more important and more dangerous. You need physical activity to maintain what remains of your thermoregulation ability, but you must be extremely careful when exercising in any extreme temperature. Experts recommend indoor exercise whenever outdoor temperatures are below 4 degrees Celsius or above 24 degrees Celsius. Creating temperature-stable microenvironments becomes extremely important. This means having a perfectly climate-controlled bedroom, even if the rest of the house fluctuates, and always carrying extra clothing and water when leaving home, because your margin for error with temperature exposure shrinks to almost zero. However, no matter how difficult temperature regulation becomes, it still does not compare to what is happening inside your digestive system. Number 3. Your digestive system enters permanent slowdown mode. On the exact day you turn 75, your entire digestive system shifts into what gastroenterologists call presbyesophagus and presbycolon. These are fancy terms, but they basically mean that every part of your digestive tract starts moving in slow motion permanently. Your esophagus, the tube that connects your mouth to your stomach, loses up to 50% of its muscle coordination. This means swallowing becomes a conscious effort instead of an automatic process. And that feeling of food getting stuck is not your imagination. It is your esophageal muscles literally forgetting how to work in sequence. Saliva production drops by about 40% after age 75. And because saliva contains important digestive enzymes that begin breaking down food even before it reaches your stomach, this means digestion becomes harder from the very first bite. Your stomach produces 30% less acid after 75. This may sound good if you have had heartburn, but this acid is essential for breaking down protein, absorbing vitamin B12, iron, and calcium, and killing harmful bacteria that come in with food. The real crisis happens in your small intestine, where the finger-like villi that absorb nutrients shrink by up to 25%. This creates what researchers call malabsorption syndrome, which affects nearly everyone over 75 to some degree. Your pancreas, which produces the enzymes that break down fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, reduces its enzyme output by about 40%. This explains why the favorite meal that never bothered you before now leaves you bloated and uncomfortable. The colon becomes particularly problematic in terms of transit time. The time it takes food to move through the colon increases from the normal 30 to 40 hours to sometimes more than 100 hours in people over 75, leading to chronic constipation that affects 60% of this age group. The liver, although remarkably resilient, still loses about 30% of its mass and blood flow by age 75, making it less efficient at processing medications and nutrients. This is why doctors often need to adjust drug doses for older adults. To cope with this slowdown, instead of fighting it, eating smaller meals every 3 to 4 hours rather than 3 large meals helps your struggling digestive system handle the workload more easily. Ideally, each meal should contain no more than 400 to 500 calories to avoid overwhelming your reduced enzyme production. Chewing thoroughly becomes extremely important. Aim to chew each bite 30 times to compensate for reduced saliva and to help break down food mechanically, since your chemical digestion is already weakened. Adding digestive enzyme supplements with meals can replace what your pancreas no longer produces adequately. Many people find relief with broad-spectrum enzymes taken 15 minutes before eating. Probiotic foods become essential rather than optional. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi help maintain gut bacteria diversity, although you need to consume them daily because the harsh gut environment makes it difficult for beneficial bacteria to settle permanently. Your fiber strategy changes completely after 75. While you still need fiber for regular bowel movements, too much of it can overwhelm your slowed system. So experts recommend gradually increasing soluble fiber from foods like oats, bananas, and sweet potatoes, while being cautious with raw vegetables that your weakened system struggles to break down. But as your digestive system struggles, an even more serious change is taking place in your sense of balance. Number 2. Your balance system goes through irreversible deterioration. Exactly at age 75, 3 separate balance systems in your body begin failing at the same time, in what researchers call a triple threat to stability. This makes falls not just possible, but almost inevitable without intervention. Your inner ear vestibular system, which contains tiny calcium crystals and fluid-filled canals that detect head position and movement, loses about 40% of its sensory cells by 75. This means your brain receives mixed or delayed signals about where your body is in space. The proprioceptors in your muscles and joints, the specialized sensors that tell your brain where your body parts are without you having to look, lose up to 50% of their sensitivity. This explains why you may miss a step or misjudge distances that you have navigated perfectly for decades. Your vision's contribution to balance drops significantly as contrast sensitivity decreases by 60% and depth perception weakens by 40%. This makes it harder to see edges, judge distances, and detect obstacles, especially in low-light conditions. But the real disaster happens in your brain's integration center, where all these signals come together. The processing speed for balance information slows by up to 70%. This means that even when your sensors detect a problem, your brain cannot coordinate a response fast enough to prevent a fall. Your ankle strategy, the first line of defense against small balance disturbances, weakens dramatically. As the small muscles around your ankles lose 40% of their strength, and ankle flexibility decreases by up to 50%. This forces your body to rely on hip and stepping strategies that are less efficient and more likely to fail. The psychological factor makes everything worse after 75. Fear of falling actually increases fall risk by 30%, because anxiety causes muscle tension and reduces the smooth, automatic movements necessary for good balance. Your blood pressure regulation also affects balance. Orthostatic hypotension, the dizzy feeling when you stand up, affects 30% of people over 75 and creates moments of extremely high fall risk during position changes. To fight this deterioration, balance training must become a daily habit like brushing your teeth with specific exercises that challenge all three systems. Standing on one foot while turning your head challenges vestibular function. Standing with your eyes closed challenges proprioception. Reaching exercises challenge visual spatial integration. The dual task training method shows remarkable results. In this approach, you perform balance exercises while doing cognitive tasks at the same time, such as counting backwards or naming animals. This mirrors real-life situations where you need to maintain balance while thinking about something else. Tai Chi has emerged as an almost ideal balance intervention for people over 75. Studies show it reduces fall risk by up to 45% because it combines slow, controlled movements with weight shifting, mental focus, and social interaction. Environmental adjustments become non-negotiable. This includes removing throw rugs, installing grab bars not only in the bathroom but also along hallways, improving lighting especially on stairs and in transition areas between rooms, and creating clear pathways free of obstacles. Your footwear strategy changes completely after 75. Proper shoes become medical equipment rather than fashion choices. You need firm non-slip soles, low heels no higher than 2.5 centimeters, and secure fastening. Many podiatrists recommend wearing supportive shoes even inside the house. The timing of activities matters a great deal. Your balance is best in the late morning, after you have been moving for a few hours but before afternoon fatigue sets in. Scheduling challenging activities during this window reduces fall risk. And now we have reached the core issue, the change that influences everything else. Number 1. Your muscle mass enters a catastrophic decline. Exactly at age 75, your body activates what scientists call rapid muscle wasting, a biological self-destruction sequence where you lose muscle mass at a rate of 3 to 5% per year. This means that by age 80, you may have lost up to 25% of your remaining muscle. And this is not just about looking frail. This is about losing the very tissue that determines whether you can stand up from a chair, climb stairs, or live independently. The shocking truth that researchers at the National Institute on Aging discovered is that after 75, your body actually starts consuming its own muscle for energy, even when you are eating enough calories. This is due to a phenomenon called anabolic resistance, where your muscles stop responding to protein and exercise the way they used to. Your satellite cells, the stem cells responsible for muscle repair and growth, decrease by 70% after age 75. This means that when you damage muscle through normal activity, it simply does not rebuild, leading to permanent losses that accumulate day after day. Type 2 muscle fibers, the ones responsible for power and quick movements like catching yourself from a fall or standing up quickly, disappear at twice the rate of type 1 fibers. This explains why simple tasks like opening a jar or getting up from a low chair become more and more difficult. Your motor units, the nerve muscle connections that control movement, die off at an alarming rate after 75. Each lost motor unit means dozens of muscle fibers stop working forever, and your body does not create new ones to replace them. The hormonal disaster that occurs at 75 makes everything worse. Testosterone drops to almost undetectable levels in men. Growth hormone production falls by 80%. IGF-1, a crucial muscle-building hormone, becomes so low that your muscles literally cannot receive the signal to grow, even when you exercise. Inflammatory markers like interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor increase by up to 300% after 75, creating a catabolic state where your body constantly breaks down muscle faster than it can build it, regardless of your nutrition or activity level. The mitochondria in your muscle cells, the power plants that produce energy, decrease in number by 50% and in efficiency by 30%. This means your muscles have 65% less energy available for any activity. This explains the crushing fatigue that hits after even minimal exertion. Protein synthesis, the process of building new muscle, slows by up to 60% after 75. This means you need to consume much more protein than younger people just to maintain muscle, let alone build it. Studies show that people over 75 need at least 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, compared with zero point 0.8 grams for younger adults. What is truly frightening is that muscle loss speeds up during any period of inactivity. Just 10 days of bed rest after age 75 can cause as much muscle loss as 2 years of normal aging. And regaining that lost muscle becomes nearly impossible due to anabolic resistance. To fight this catastrophic decline, the timing of protein intake becomes extremely important. Studies show you need 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each meal to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Spreading protein evenly throughout the day works better than consuming it all at dinner. Leucine, an amino acid found in eggs, chicken, and dairy, becomes your best friend after 75 because it is the specific trigger for muscle protein synthesis. You need at least 3 grams per meal to overcome anabolic resistance. Vitamin D becomes crucial because deficiency, which affects 75% of people over 75, directly causes muscle weakness and accelerates muscle wasting. Studies show that supplementation can improve muscle function by up to 20%. The timing of exercise matters greatly. Morning workouts, when your cortisol is naturally higher and anabolic resistance is at its lowest, show better results than afternoon or evening training. Recovery time must be extended significantly, with 72 hours between sessions that train the same muscle group, compared with 48 hours for younger people, because your reduced satellite cells and slower protein synthesis need more time. Maintaining muscle after 75 requires you to eat like an athlete, even if you do not feel like one at all. This means consuming protein right after waking up when your muscles have been fasting all night, having a protein-rich snack before bed to prevent overnight muscle breakdown, and never going more than 4 hours without protein during the day. Understanding that this muscle loss is happening to everyone helps remove shame and frustration, because this is not about being lazy or weak. This is about fighting a biological process that nature has programmed into every human being who reaches the age of 75. These 5 changes are not possibilities or probabilities. They are certainties waiting for everyone when they turn 75, but knowing about them turns them from frightening surprises into challenges you can manage. If this information has opened your eyes to what is really happening after 75, press the subscribe button now so you do not miss our next video about specific exercises that can slow each of these changes by up to 40%. Turn on the notification bell to be alerted when we post, because your future self will thank you for taking action today. Thank you for watching, and remember, aging may be inevitable, but suffering because of it is not.